It's Kyle here, and I'm very excited to review the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of Andor. So happy this series is back. Absolutely love the first season of Andor. Some of the best moments in Star Wars history, I think, were in that first season of Andor. So many amazing speeches, monologues, set pieces, new character introductions. Amazing first season. So I was so excited for Season 2. And I will say, not surprisingly, I was not expecting this not to be the case, but I believe Season 2 definitely is matching what Season 1 did. So it feels on a similar level quality-wise, similar tone. So it's not one of those things in between Season 1 and Season 2, you're basically like, well, this feels like a completely different show now. This still feels like what we saw in Andor Season 1, which makes completely sense. But I'm very glad to see that's the case, because I love Season 1 so much, so I'm glad to see it's feeling like we're going to have the same level of quality here in Season 2. I will say the one thing I'm kind of disappointed on is I'm not a super big fan of the release schedule, where they're basically doing 3 episodes a week and wrapping it up very quickly. I understand all the reasons why they're doing it, but just with this type of show, there's so much thinking you can do about each episode with the themes, theorizing, stuff like that. It would be a lot more entertaining. You'd be able to delve, I think, a little bit more into think about the episodes a lot more if you had, 1 or at least 2 a week coming out. With 3 coming out once, it basically kind of feels like you're getting a movie every week, which is awesome, but they kind of blend together. So I think it almost feels like one long episode instead of 3 episodes on their own. So still not my favorite release schedule, but oh well, I'll live with it. And I'll say I still really enjoyed all 3 episodes. It just made for a really long night of watching Andor. So instead of trying to review each episode individually, I'm instead going to focus on the 4 main story beats of the 3 episodes and kind of focus on one at a time and kind of go through it that way instead of trying to separate episode per episode. So that being said, let's delve into the first 3 episodes of Andor. And spoiler warning, this review will include spoilers for the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of Andor, so if you haven't watched those episodes yet, please go watch them and then come back and watch this review. So I think a good spot to start is focusing first on Cassian Andor's storyline for the first 3 episodes. I love the opening of the episode where we basically get Cassian trying to steal this, advanced prototype TIE fighter. His speech with this rebel who helps him out is very moving, and we very much get to see how he has developed as a character and as a rebel, where he's, a year later after he really fully joined the rebellion. It was a great scene, very moving, and I think it gave you a good touch point. Like, this is where Cassian is at the start of this journey as a rebel, and we'll get to see where he is at the end, where we wrap up. And of course, we all know where he ends up in Rogue One, but this was, I think, a very beautiful moment. I love how everything with this heist for this TIE fighter went completely wrong. You can tell this was not quite what Cassian was expecting. He really had no idea how to pilot it. He had to kind of guess and kind of basically lucked into escaping. He very much could have died 100 times during the escape, either by the Imperials catching him or him just crashing the plane and dying himself. So it's a miracle he escaped, but that is a really cool set piece, and I really enjoyed it. We then get Cassian meeting his contact on this unknown jungle planet, which I love the reveal of the 3 episodes that this was Yavin 4. Very cool moment. And at the time, I remember when we first ended up on that planet, a lot of it's weird because all the other planets we arrived at, we got oh, this is what planet they're at. I'm like, I wonder why we're not getting this one. And that's fine. The entire time I never really thought about possibly being Yavin, so I thought that was a really, really cool touch. But Cassian lands this TIE fighter there, and his contact's not there, and he is captured by what we find out is a bunch of rebels. And it very much shows you this little storyline with Cassian, where the rebels are at this point in the Star Wars galaxy. And it's very much showing hey, we're at the home of what everybody knows will be the Rebel Alliance in a few years, and there is no alliance at this point. The rebellion's completely separated. There's all these multiple groups. Cassian's trying to convince these group of rebels, hey, I'm a rebel too. My group's even help suppliers. And they're asking, well, what group are you with? And, he can't tell because he needs to keep Luthen's secret. You can tell there's so much distrust, so much rivalry amongst the various rebels. They're almost more focused on fighting each other than they are on the Empire, which is exactly what the Empire wants. And it shows you during this course of the storyline where this rebel group who distrusts other rebel groups splinters itself on this planet and divides into two smaller groups of like, 6 to 7 people each. And they just can't get along even though they're facing the exact same challenges. They don't have food. They don't have a way off the planet. They're just trying to survive. And they still split even when they should be working together. And you kind of, see, Cassian's trying to bridge the gap, trying to do, kind of like Luthen. So let's bring all these rebel groups together and get this rebel alliance. And they just don't see it, and they just wait too long to try to make it happen. And eventually takes advantage of a wild beast actually attacking these two rebels, and he's able to escape. In some ways, this was maybe my least favorite of the storylines, mainly because, we're only going so many episodes, and it's like, do we really have to spend so much time on these rebel characters I don't think we're ever going to see again? I'd rather get focused on these characters that hopefully will play a big part throughout the entire season 2. But at the same time, the entire time they're doing this, I understand completely why they're doing this, because they want to show very clearly this is where the rebellion is at this moment. It's so fragmented, it is really zero threat to the Empire. They only have 4 years to get to where they need to be for the first Death Star. And it's very interesting to see how they'll go from there to where they end up. But Cassian escapes. Once he gets to space, he's eventually able to make contact. And that's when he finds out that the planet he had been hiding out on is under Imperial blockade at the moment. And this is the point that Cassian's storyline interacts with the storyline that we've been following on Mina Rao, which is basically where Bix and Brasso have taken refuge on after escaping Ferrix. So Mina Rao is this farm planet, and our group of Ferrix refugees have kind of taking the role of like mechanics, helping out with farm equipment and stuff like that, and you can tell they've been completely embraced by this community. It's made very clear early on that basically this group is kind of undocumented, so if the Empire comes around, they're going to be in trouble. So we have that threat looming over them the entire time, especially when this Imperial ship suddenly shows up and they're like, what's going on? Are they here after us? And we find out they're not here for any hunting rebels or anything like that. They're just here for like a standard Imperial audit. But you can tell this completely puts all our Ferrix refugees under threat because they don't have the papers they need. I would say one thing I really enjoyed about this storyline is the strong sense of community we get on Mina Rao, and like how these people have embraced our group of refugees from Ferrix and made them completely a part of the community, and they understand that they're at danger of Imperial punishment if they're caught, and they really try to do anything they can once the Empire arrives to try to keep them safe, to try to keep these members of the community, even though they're not from this planet. They fully embraced them as a part of this community. I think obviously this storyline echoes a lot of stuff that's going on in our world today, and very much shows just like how in some ways it just would be better if we can all have compassion for each other and understand like, hey, these people are in here in a horrible situation. They had to flee to our planet. They'd probably rather be back at home in their own community, but they've had to leave, and they've made it here, and they've become a part of our community. They're helping out. We need to be there for them as well and try to do anything we can to help keep them safe. We very much see how our group is really still struggling from what happened to them on Ferrix. Bix is obviously dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. She's waking up with nightmares, which is made clear by the other characters. This is happening fairly regularly. It's not a one-time occurrence, which is not surprising how she was tortured by the Empire. Which then, once the Empire arrives and they start making contact with our people, very quickly on, there's an Imperial officer who clearly takes a very creepy interest in Bix, and the entire time like, oh, I see what they're hinting at. This is bad, but it's really showing you what the Empire is all about. They're just here to abuse their authority. They don't care about the rule of law. They're just here to take advantage of any little bit of power they can get and abuse it. And this guy is a creepo. What I did not expect is basically to see basically a sexual assault take place in a Star Wars series. Something I didn't think I would ever see. It was disgusting to watch, but I think it's important for the show to do it, to really show like this is what the Empire is all about, and what these individuals who have served the Empire are willing to do just to take advantage of the little bit of power they have. They're not here to help bring peace and order, economic prosperity, anything like that. They're just here to abuse power and to show we've seen first season Bix is tortured. this season she's assaulting just the various ways the Empire doesn't care about individual rights. They're just here to abuse whatever power they have any way they can. Luckily, the assault is fought off and Bix actually kills her assaulter. But still, I think one of the darker moments we've ever seen in Star Wars. This sets up kind of the Imperial showdown with our group and the Imperial forces on this planet. Around this time is the same time Cassian shows up with his TIE fighter. He's able to fight off and kill basically a lot of the stormtroopers and the Imperial forces on this planet, which is a very small group. But during the escape, Brasso is killed, which was heartbreaking. I think obviously with everything that happened in Rogue One, I think it's probably this series and with this season 2, they're probably going to kill a lot of characters. I don't know, other than Austin, we know Cassian is going to make it. A lot of the other characters, you just like, is anybody really safe? So I think I was already bracing myself for us to lose characters. I don't know if I was expecting Brasso to die off screen the way it did, but I think it kind of showed you, this is just this happens. It's not, some big moment for the Empire. This is a common thing that's just happening in place throughout the galaxy, and it's just it's the things that Cassian's going to face over and over again. I think he's going to lose more and more people he cares about, and basically take him to the point that we see him at the beginning of Rogue One, where basically he's become so beaten down and not hopeful at all, to where we end up with him at Rogue One, where he's again full of hope and is willing to give his life to fight the Empire. But we'll miss Brasso because I enjoyed him's character a lot. The next storyline will go to Mon Mothma and Chandrila, which is basically centered around the marriage of her daughter, which I thought was really neat because it's set up that this marriage ceremony takes place over 3 days. We basically get a day for each episode, so I really enjoyed that format for it. Mon Mothma is amazing. This story arc, we get to see her in her family role, but at the same time we get to see her, the stress that's beating down her as he's trying to figure out how to resist the Empire. And I think we're beginning, as these episodes go along, soon to get to the point where she's getting closer and closer to be the leader of the rebellion that the galaxy needs. What I was not expecting in this story arc was Tay, who was so much of an ally in the first season, to become the main antagonist for this storyline, where basically he's had some business issues. He's looking at Mon Mothma, and she's throwing this fantasy wedding. Everybody's doing so well, and he's struggling. His wife has left him. He's basically sets up hey, Mon, I'm blackmailing you. I've hid all your money for the Empire. It really won't take me much to kind of start leaking this info. I think I should be fairly compensated. And he's Mon doing that. A childhood friend is blackmailing her this way. When in reality, all he's caring about the money, but you come on off and saying, this is about the fate of the galaxy, and you just want a little money. And I'm your friend, and really, this is what you didn't ask me for help, you're blackmailing me. Luthen happens to be there because he's there for the wedding, and you see Luthen, when he sees this interaction, you instantly know, Luthen's going to kill this guy. He's going to see this as a threat. He was kind of opposed to Mon bringing him in to begin with. And now he sees this person is going to put everything at risk that we've been working to build. Tay, you're not going to last much longer. And, that's how the kind of storyline progresses in that front. But everything with Tay and Mon Mothma was very fascinating. The thing I found intriguing, you have Perrin, Mon's husband, which is still a very dysfunctional wedding. But you see him kind of in a more positive light in this one, where Tay goes more and more to the bad side. Perrin's not exactly a good guy, but he's not really as bad as he was in season 1, where he's more focused on the positives, having fun, embracing life, embracing joy, finding ways to kind of live your life when the galaxy's trying to beat you down. Now, what he's missing is you need to fight what's good, fight for joy, fight for positivity. But at least he's not trying to blackmail Mon Mothma into giving him money, or he's going to rat her out to the Empire. Everything with the wedding, the traditions and stuff, I found very fascinating, very intriguing. The costumes were amazing. Heartbreaking moment between Mon Mothma and her daughter, where she's trying to really connect with her, and this is her last chance. She's hey, I know you want to do this arranged marriage. I did it when I was a kid. My mom did it, was drunk, and really wasn't there to help me. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. And basically, her daughter's I wish you were drunk, I hate you. And you see just break Mon Mothma's heart, and he basically all right, this part of my life's over. I'm no longer her mom. She's completely broke off. this part of my life is just over. I have a broken marriage. My daughter hates me. This is over. And then we get this great dance scene at the end where you can tell, like, you know, Mom Muff is getting drunk. She's kind of dancing this rave. And you almost feel like she's like, I'm going to have this one last minute of like letting everything go. And then I'm double down and I'm all in. Everything's going to go towards against the Empire. Everything else doesn't matter anymore because I really don't have anything else left anymore. Very powerful moment, and I'm very interested to see where we see Mon Mothma when we pick up in episode 4. And last up, we'll focus on the Imperial storyline, which we didn't really get as much compared to the other storylines, but we get Dedra and Cyril. Start off, Dedra is on part of this secret Imperial meeting with Krennic, a director Krennic, and I think when that first starts, it's like, oh, is this something about the Death Star? And it is kind of roundabout way, but it's setting up everything going on with Gorman, which I think everybody going this season knew everything going on with the Gormans and the Gorman Massacre was going to play a huge role in this series. So if you know Star Wars history, you know the Gorman Massacre plays a huge role in their formation of the rebellion. Basically, that's the triggering moment that gives Mon Mothma to give this landmark speech that basically kind of establishes her as the leader of the rebellion. Goes on the run, leaves the Senate. That's what we see in Star Wars Rebels after this speech, and it really is kind of the formational moment of the Rebel Alliance. So everybody that already knew this series was going to build up to the Gorman Massacre. I was kind of happy that we're already getting that established. We get this early thing like, this is what's going on in Gorman, this is what the planet's like, this is what their culture's like, through an amazing video about the planet, which I really loved. Part of my job is like I work in tourism for a city in Georgia. I do a lot of stuff in tourism. I've seen a lot of tourism videos. And that tourism video about Gorman kind of telling you, well, this is what all Gorman's about, what the people care about, what's unique about their culture and their identity. As somebody that works in that field, I was like, this is absolutely amazing. Loved it. But you can see like the Empire doesn't care anything about that because there's a mineral on this planet that the Empire needs for the Death Star construction. And, it's like now you get the idea of like what's going to lead up to Gorman Massacre. Basically, the Empire wants the people of Gorman gone. Either enslaved, killed, they don't care. They just need what's on Gorman, and they don't need that population there to fight and oppose them. So this meeting is all there to strategize about. As a student of history, this secret meeting very much to me reminded me of a very famous or infamous meeting that the Nazis had where they basically planned out the final solution, planned out the Holocaust, and said, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is how the concentration camps are going to work. This is our goal. This meeting very much, very small group. There's a famous element of that meeting where like there's basically a buffet that like these handful of Nazis in this meeting are basically enjoying a buffet while they plan out the killing of 11 million people. And the same thing with this, like the Imperial officers at this meeting are enjoying some finger foods and sandwiches and stuff like that while they talk about like how can we destroy this planet and get rid of this population that's on this planet. And it's like, how did you as individuals get to this point where you're like, hey, let's enjoy some food and talk about how we can destroy a planet? The interaction between Krennic and Dedra was very amazing, very chilling, where he basically like, hey, I know you're talented. I know I picked you to be at this meeting. You didn't say anything. You keep on hedging. Tell me what you think we should do. She gives her pitch, and then we find out like, hey, Krennic liked it. She's in charge of Gorman now. Then we do find out when they get back to Coruscant that her and Cyril are together. I think the one advantage of this having a 1-year time jump is we don't have to go through everything of them establishing their relationship, which I don't know if I really wanted to see. But it was very interesting to see what their relationship was like. I do like the scene where we see Dedra getting ready for we don't know what at this point, and basically it looks like she only has white outfits or black outfits, and she's kind of putting on a fake smile. Very much reminds me of season 1 when Luthen is kind of going into character and he's putting his big smile on. And it's clearly like this smile is not who Dedra is, but she has to know like, oh, I have to figure out how to smile at this event. And we find out as Cyril's mom is coming to meet her for the first time, so we get the amazing interaction with them. I'm not going to go into details, but I love that moment. Cyril's mom was amazing, how she basically destroys Cyril, and like he's like, I don't want to be here. He basically goes to his bed and like a toddler just like collapses on it, and Dedra basically just snaps and like clearly she must like Cyril for some reason, and she's like, all right, Mom, you're done. I know what you're about. This Cyril's the only person you can dominate, so you can dominate him. That's over because I am in his life anymore. And if you do anything like that again, you are done. And to see her kind of put in her place like that, it's amazing. And the way Cyril's face lights up when he comes back in the room and he kind of realizes his mom is behaving and clearly Deidre has done something was a very interesting moment. We find out Cyril's still at that Bureau of Weights and Measurements or whatever, and he's fully embraced his role, and you can tell he thinks he's way more important than he is. So I'm very interested to see how he develops and if he eventually becomes a little bit more involved in Deidre's line of work, especially as Cassian becomes more involved. But overall, really enjoyed the first 3 episodes. Did an amazing job to kind of show you where the rebellion is like at the moment, what's everything going on with their characters. Some very powerful moments, and it definitely has me excited for the rest of Andor Season 2. So in the comment section below, let me know, what was your favorite storyline in the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 2? If you enjoyed this review, please hit the like button. If you have it up, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time, and may the Force be with you.